So last Sunday I did a 24-hour fast for the first time ever, and today I'm just going to go over my experiences and what I took away from it after completing the 24-hour fast. So I ran my fast from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. the next day, and I had a few reasons of why I'd done this. I had a few creators that I follow, Uncommon Sense, Fazlift, Eric Bugenhagen and Atlas Parashug. I'd seen them all like talk about fasting as a tool for fat loss, and how it's actually a really valuable tool that they actively use in their fat loss journeys. So it was on my mind that it was a tool I could try use at some time. And then also, quite before I started lifting, and around the time I did start lifting, I was reading some philosophy books, and one in particular, Seneca's Letters. It's mentioned quite a few times about like the practice of like how Stoics would regularly like sort of fast and as like a sort of mental challenge and sort of test their mental toughness in a way. So I had these two sort of big reasons of why I sort of had it in my mind of giving fasting a go. So I recently started a fat loss phase, so I thought it was a good time to try it out. Going into it, I thought this was going to be really difficult for me because I've always had like a fairly big appetite, and I've always been like a fairly hungry person in general. So I thought it was going to be really difficult for me, and sort of I went into it expecting like a really grueling challenge here, a really grueling 24 hours. To start off, like after a while, I did start to feel hunger, but I felt it was kind of blunted in a way, because I had went in with this massive expectation that it was going to be like a grueling experience and it was going to be terrible for me because I usually always have such a big appetite, and I'm regularly hungry, you know. So I went in with this like massively bad expectation, and I did the first day. I did feel hunger, but it wasn't like to the crazy levels like that I had built up in my mind. It was there, but it was kind of blunted by, I think, comparing it to my massive mental expectations. Moving on from that, so the first day I had my last meal at like 6 p.m. All that day was generally fine. As I said, my hunger was kind of blunted. It wasn't too bad. It was there, but I wasn't like dying of starvation as I had like built up in my head. Then come that night, when I went to sleep, I would try to go to bed early because I was up early for work the next day. And yeah, sleep was not great. It took me probably a bit longer than usual to get to sleep, because I did have like the slight hunger like putting me off. Like I said, at that stage it wasn't crazy, but it was like putting me off, and it was like making it harder for me to get down to sleep. When I finally did get down to sleep, I had a few times where I woke up through the night quite hungry, and like with like feeling hungry. Then it wasn't like too bad, like, but it was enough to wake me up. On those cases I just got up, had a drink of water, and then lied back down. Overall, like, I slept, but like it was pretty interrupted and not a great sleep overall. So when I woke up the next morning, I wasn't particularly feeling hungry. I kind of just felt hollow in a sense, and like low energy compared to usual, like waking up in the morning. So went about my day, went to work, and that sort of low energy and like hollow feeling persisted. Like there wasn't much hunger. It had kind of passed, and I was just feeling low energy and kind of hollow, but again, compared to my expectations going in, where I thought I was just going to be like ravenous the whole time at this stage, and I was just going to be like absolutely like dying, like about to like run out and just break it with my hunger. But again, like, that's stupid expectation, like looking back at it, because like realistically our body is not going to keep sending you these crazy hunger hormones that like and signals that interfere with everything once it recognizes that it's not going to be getting food like immediately. So our body is quite quite smart, so it's not going to keep doing that, which I obviously realize now. Then that sort of persisted throughout the day, and then I felt as I was getting closer to like the end of the fast, I did start to feel more hunger. I don't know whether this was just like a combination of like my expectations, or like I mentally realized that I was like getting close to it, so I was like building up of an image in my mind of like, oh, the food is nearly here, so it was provoking those feelings in me. But it did start to pick up slightly as I was getting closer to it. But again, it wasn't the ravenous, absolutely starvation levels of hunger that I like had built up and expected going into it. So I finished work and then went home. All throughout this, I had been making sure to just like drink water and electrolytes and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a 24-hour fast. It's not crazy. Like some of the creators I mentioned at the start have done way longer fasts, and for 24 hours they would generally say like it's not even that big of a deal to focus on electrolytes. But as it was my first time doing it, I wanted to make sure I focused on getting in water and electrolytes throughout the 24 hours. So I made sure to just hydrate, and then I went and trained. I continued my normal schedule as usual. I knew going into this session that it was going to be hard. Like obviously I'm pretty like low on fuel, low on energy, but I thought that was going to be like part of the challenge, really, part of the struggle of like just seeing how I get on. So I went in, and obviously it had to be a leg day as well, didn't it, that I timed this on. So it was probably extra hard compared to some other sessions that it could have been. The session went actually pretty okay. Like probably my first set on most exercises or most muscle groups was like generally okay. Like I didn't lose massive performance on anything like that. Certain exercises, like I did match the performance, but like I felt like it was way harder. It felt like a real struggle. And then I did notice like some exercises, like on like second, third sets, that I was experiencing some more drop off than usual on set to set basis. It was kind of like my performance was still there, but I just didn't have the energy in the tank to keep going, which kind of makes sense. But overall the training session went pretty well, and it kind of like brought up the thought of like, geez, like people are so like meticulous with like stuff like making sure everything is perfect for their training sessions, but like it really brought up the thought of like, we are built for so much more. We're not built to like fall apart the minute like even like a small thing goes wrong. We're built to be able to handle a lot of stuff. And like thinking back to like say our ancestors, like with maybe like the caveman times, or even like pre-Homo sapien ancestors, like they absolutely regularly went days on end without food, and then had to go and like fight animals, or like fight off like a saber-toothed tiger or something like that, and they needed to be able to do that on low energy, and they did it. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Like their bloodlines wouldn't have survived to today, and we wouldn't be here. So I think it really like puts into perspective that like we're not so fragile. We're like capable of like way more than we actually think these days, and we're built to be able to handle way more than we think these days. Yeah, so the next day, in terms of weight, the morning before I started the fast, I weighed in at 75.3 kilos, and the day after, when I was like fully fed up. I had a full day of eating, so I was like fully replenished. Basically, I was 74.6 kilos. So it's what, like 0.7 kilos dropped. I obviously, during this process, I kept my normal routine of like same amount of steps and same training, minus maybe a couple of sets here and there. So in terms of like a tool for fat loss, it was like pretty effective. Like for one day, 24 hours, essentially dropping 0.7 kilos. So just in terms of takeaways, it has quite really put like hunger into perspective for me, because as I said, I've always had like felt I've had like a really big appetite and like I felt a lot of hunger, but the 24-hour fast has actually put into perspective like and sort of reset my signals of like what I feel is like real hunger, because now I'll have times where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling hungry, but like comparatively, like I know this is not like, it's not like I'm about to die. I am hungry, like whereas before I would have like felt like crazy, I need to get something to eat right now. Now I kind of like the signal is reset, and I kind of have a perspective on, okay, this is not insane hunger. I am hungry, but like it's not like I'm about to die. I felt worse before, so it's put it into perspective and like let me understand like what like my normal day-to-day hunger signals are better than I did previously. Also, another clear takeaway, as I said before, is like humans are built for so much more. We're capable of so much more in a lot of ways than most people think these days. And even when you're someone who sort of realizes we're not so fragile, it's kind of amazing to see. So just some tips that I found helpful throughout the process for anyone who wants to attempt a 24-hour fast or even a longer fast for the first time. So first was I was someone who like would quite regularly watch like full days of eating, like food videos, food challenge videos, like those type of things, like cooking videos, all that type of stuff. And throughout the process, I just actively didn't click on those type of videos. I actively didn't watch those type of videos. Whereas what I would have maybe been just like relaxing, watching YouTube, and these are the type of videos I clicked on. I'd made a conscious effort to not look at those type of videos because they would bring food to the forefront of my mind, and that seemed to help with keeping it off my mind and helped with like keeping the mental aspect there of like not constantly thinking about food. Also, I found throughout the time as well, just like to make sure you're always doing something, or it doesn't have to be like you're doing something crazy productive, but like always be occupied with something. So even if you're relaxing, like watch something, or watch something engaging, read something, like play a video game, whatever. Just go for a walk. Keep yourself occupied, and don't just like sort of sit there and not be engaged with anything, because that's when you'll start to like really get those like pangs of hunger, and you'll start to like really when you're not focusing on something, you'll start to pick up these like minor feelings more, and you'll start to focus on them more. So I found keeping myself occupied as much as I reasonably could to be quite helpful with this. So overall, I felt that like the 24-hour fast was a good experience for me. It's something that, like in terms of like fat loss tools, I may employ more semi-regularly. It's not something that I personally like would want to do like absolutely every week, but it's definitely something that like, even if, because for one it obviously does help with fat loss, but also just doing one semi regularly is a good like mental challenge, and like helps like promote more mental toughness and determination, grit, whatever you want to say. So I'll definitely be doing more like longer fasts like this again. Not too sure exactly when, but I've definitely enjoyed and would recommend, barring any like health circumstances that would prevent people to try it if you're interested. Thanks for watching the video, and this has been my ramble about my experience on doing a 24-hour fast. If you've enjoyed, drop a like. If you've any thoughts, comment below and I will get back to you. And if you want to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. Thanks.